The Role of the Man in the Life of the Woman, a Modern Synthesis. Hello, dear friends. I am Stefano D'Angelo. Welcome to episode 3 of our series. In our last conversation, we explored the multifaceted role of the woman in the life of the man, a topic that resonated deeply with many of you. Today, we turn the lens around. We are delving into an equally complex, evolving, and often misunderstood subject, the role of the man in the life of the woman. This is not a discussion about outdated patriarchal scripts or prescriptive duties. Instead, this is an academic and psychological exploration into the modern synthesis of masculinity as it interfaces with the female experience. We will investigate how, in an era striving for egalitarianism, the masculine presence contributes to a woman's life, not as a savior or a provider in the traditional sense, but as a partner, a supporter, a mirror, and a co-creator in the grand project of a shared existence. Our journey today will take us through several key archetypes and functions, from the historical bedrock of protection to the modern necessity of emotional scaffolding. From the role of a challenger to that of a sanctuary, we will deconstruct the pressures of modern masculinity and examine how a man's own journey of self-actualization is inextricably linked to the health and vitality of his relationship. So, let's begin this exploration of the modern man's role, not as a fixed monolith, but as a dynamic and vital force in the narrative of a woman's life. Part 1. Deconstructing the monolith, from provider to partner. Historically, the male role was defined with stark simplicity, primarily through the lens of provision and protection. This model, rooted in socio-biological and economic realities of past eras, positioned man as the external agent, the one who navigated the public sphere to secure resources and ensure physical safety for the family unit. The woman, in turn, was the agent of the domestic sphere. This is the patriarchal bargain, a script so deeply embedded in our collective unconscious that its echoes still inform our expectations today. However, the seismic shifts of the 20th and 21st centuries, feminist movements, economic transformations, and new psychological insights have rendered this model obsolete, if not detrimental. The contemporary woman is, more often than not, an economic agent in her own right. She is educated, ambitious, and capable of self-provision. Therefore, the man's value proposition must evolve beyond the purely material. The transition is from a transactional dynamic to a transformational one. It is a shift from the provider archetype to the partner archetype. But what does this partner truly encompass? It is not merely about sharing bills and chores, although that is a crucial. We are talking about the creation of a dyadic system characterized by symbiotic growth. A 2018 study in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships highlighted that for women in long-term relationships, perceived partner responsiveness, the belief that a partner understands, values, and supports one's core self, is a far greater predictor of relationship satisfaction and personal well-being than a partner's income or social status. This is the crux of the modern role: to be a responsive, engaged partner in the holistic sense. This partnership is not a single role but a constellation of functions, which we will now explore. Part 2, the 5 pillars of modern masculine partnership. To understand the man's role today, we can conceptualize it as 5 interconnected pillars. These are not rigid categories, but fluid functions that a man is called upon to embody, often simultaneously. Pillar 1, the architect of psychological safety, the protector. The concept of protection has undergone a profound evolution. While physical safety remains a baseline concern, the primary domain of protection has shifted from the external world to the internal one. The modern man's role is to be a primary architect of psychological safety. What does this mean in practice? It is the creation of an emotional environment where a woman feels safe to be vulnerable, to express her fears, her ambitions, her unfiltered self, without fear of judgment, dismissal, or weaponization of her vulnerability later. This is what psychologist Peter Fonagy would relate to the concept of mentalization, the ability to hold someone else's mind in one's own mind. This role requires a man to cultivate his own emotional intelligence. He must act as a container for her anxieties, not by solving them instantly, but by validating their existence. Phrases like, "That sounds incredibly difficult," or "I understand why you would feel that way," are the building blocks of this safety. It is an active, not a passive, role. It is the conscious decision to be a sanctuary in a world that is often critical and demanding. When a man provides this, he is not protecting a fragile creature. He is providing the secure base from which a strong, capable woman can engage with the world even more fearlessly. Pillar 2, the champion of her becoming, the supporter. The second pillar moves beyond passive acceptance into active advocacy. The man's role is to be the most ardent champion of his partner's becoming, her personal, professional, and spiritual growth. This directly counters the historical model where female ambition was often seen as a threat to a man's ego or the stability of the relationship. Research by the Gottman Institute consistently shows that relationships thrive when partners admire each other and actively support one another's life. Intellectual and creative support, engaging with her work, listening to her ideas, and providing constructive feedback. It means taking her ambitions as seriously as he takes his own. Practical support, making tangible sacrifices to enable her success. This could be relocating for her career, taking on more childcare during a critical project, or managing the household so she can pursue a degree. This is the logistical scaffolding of empowerment. Emotional support, being her source of encouragement when she faces setbacks and her biggest celebrant in moments of triumph. It is about mitigating her self-doubt and amplifying her self-belief. This role requires a man to be secure in his own masculinity, to see her success not as a diminution of his own, but as a shared victory for their dyadic system. Pillar 3, the catalyst for growth, the challenger host. A partnership of depth is not built on perpetual comfort. The third pillar is perhaps the most nuanced, the role of the constructive challenger. A man contributes profoundly to a woman's life when he can serve as a loving, respectful force that challenges her to grow beyond her self-imposed limitations. This is not about criticism or control. It is about seeing her highest potential and refusing to let her settle for less. It is the partner who, seeing her fear of public speaking, says, "I know this terrifies you, but I also know you have something important to say. How can I help you prepare?" This requires immense trust and a foundation of psychological safety. The challenge must come from a place of genuine belief in her capabilities. It is the difference between saying, "You're not good at this," and saying, "I believe you can be great at this, and I will be here as you learn." This form of interpersonal friction can be a powerful catalyst for development, preventing the stagnation that can occur in relationships built solely on comfort and avoidance of conflict. Pillar 4, the mirror for self-discovery, the reflector. In psychoanalytic theory, there is the concept of the mirroring function, typically attributed to the primary caregiver in childhood. In adult romantic relationships, partners serve a similar, more complex function. A man acts as a mirror in which a woman can see herself more clearly. Through his perceptions, his reactions, and his way of being, he provides a reflection, sometimes flattering, sometimes challenging, that enhances her self-awareness. He might reflect back to her a strength she didn't know she had, simply by how he relies on it. He might also, through his reactions, inadvertently illuminate a blind spot or a pattern of behavior she was unaware of. For this mirroring to be effective, it requires the man to be both honest and compassionate. It also requires him to be self-aware. If the mirror is distorted by his own unresolved issues, insecurities, or biases, to his own personal growth, to cleaning his own mirror is one of the greatest gifts he can give to his partner. It ensures that the reflection he offers is one of clarity and love, not distortion. Pillar 5, the partner in domesticity and play, the co-creator. Finally, we arrive at the pillar that grounds the entire structure in daily life. The role of the co-creator in the shared world. This encompasses two domains, the prosaic and the profound. The prosaic is the sphere of domestic co-management. In the 21st century, an egalitarian partnership is non-negotiable for a thriving relationship. This is not about a rigid 50-50 split of every task, but about a shared sense of ownership and responsibility for the functioning of their shared life. It is the mutual recognition that domestic labor and emotional labor are real work, and the man's role is to be an equal shareholder in that work, not a helper to his partner. The profound is the sphere of co-creating meaning, joy, and play. A man's role is to be a partner in building a life rich with shared rituals, inside jokes, adventures, and a sense of us-ness. This is the element of play, of levity, that acts as a buffer against life's stressors. It is the ability to create a shared narrative that is unique to them. This co-creation of a couple culture is, according to researchers like Dr. Sue Johnson, the very essence of a secure and lasting bond. Part 3. The crisis and calling of modern masculinity. It would be incomplete to discuss these pillars without acknowledging the immense pressure they place on the modern man. Many men are caught between the lingering ghosts of old patriarchal expectations and the complex demands of modern emotional partnership. This is often referred to as the crisis of masculinity. They are told to be strong, but also to be vulnerable, to be ambitious, but also to be a primary caregiver, to be a leader, but also an equal partner. These are not inherently contradictory, but navigating them without clear cultural roadmaps can lead to confusion, anxiety, and retreat. The man's role in a woman's life is therefore deeply intertwined with his own internal work. He cannot be an architect of her psychological safety if he is at war with his own emotions. He cannot be a champion of her becoming if he is insecure in his own identity. This is the calling of modern masculinity, to embark on a journey of integration. It is the integration of traditional masculine virtues like strength, courage, and discipline with so-called feminine virtues like empathy, vulnerability, and emotional fluency. The most effective and supportive partner for a woman is not a soft man or a hard man, but a whole man. This wholeness is achieved through self-reflection, therapy, men's groups, and a conscious effort to deconstruct the toxic elements of traditional masculinity. To engage in this personal work is ultimately the foundation upon which all 5 pillars are built. It is a testament to his commitment not just to her, but to the integrity of their shared reality. And esquertas. Conclusion: the role as a co-authored narrative. So, what is the role of the man in the life of the woman? If we have learned anything today, it is that there is no single role. There is no static job description to be filled. Instead, the man's function is a dynamic, fluid, and profound partnership. It is a dance of leading and following, of challenging and comforting, of speaking and listening. He is the architect of a safe space, the champion of her dreams, the mirror for her soul, the challenger for her growth, and the co-author of their shared life. He is a man whose strength is measured not by his capacity to dominate, but by his capacity to empower, whose value is found not in his wallet. The role is not a script to be performed, but a narrative to be co-written. It is a story where his character development is just as crucial as hers, and where the plot is not about one saving the other, but about 2 whole individuals choosing, day after day, to build something beautiful and meaningful together. Thank you for joining me in this exploration.